Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis Damian Podcast, episode 59. We are available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian Podcast, along with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. If you guys would like to ask us any questions, you can leave a voice message at the Anchor link or in the YouTube comment section. Today, we're going to be talking about gaming news such as PlayStation Digital Stores closing and E3 2021. Then we're going to talk about our recent activities, including Monster Hunter and a whole lot of anime. Next, our review of It Takes Two. Lastly, our thoughts on the Falcon and Winter Soldier Episodes 2 and 3. So first piece of news is the PlayStation stores are closing this summer. So the PSP and PS3 stores will be closing on July 2nd, while the Vita store will stay open until August 27th. So this was like a report from thegamer.com, and then PlayStation later officially came out and was like, yeah, these stores are closing. So obviously a lot of people have been taking this as an opportunity to be like, hey, digital or physical over digital, which I've always been an advocate for, because situations like this do happen eventually. And Sony obviously don't see a reason to keep these stores up any longer. I'm sure there's not a lot of people buying PSP games, but I'm sure that there's some people out there that are still buying Vita and PS3 games on those digital stores. It's just now with the collector sort of aspect of it, me and Damien were talking about this yesterday, where like certain games for like the Vita have sort of skyrocketed in price. So like, for example, one thing I noticed was Sly Cooper Thieves in Time has skyrocketed in price on eBay. It's like now a $40-$50 Vita game, when before it was like maybe 20. It is really strange and really crazy in terms of like how certain games are sort of rising up in price because of this sort of freak out with the digital stores closing down.
Yeah, it does kind of suck because a lot of these games because during the PS3 generation, that's when we started seeing like exclusive games for the PS3 store. So things like like the infamous Festival of Blood or Quest for Booty. I know Quest for Booty has a physical release in Europe. I don't know about in the States if Ratchet & Clank Quest for Booty has a physical copy here.
It does not.
Yeah, it doesn't, right? Yeah, so we're gonna be losing like a lot of things that are like exclusive to the PlayStation Store only, because again, that was the generation when they started dabbling in that stuff. So it's gonna be really sad to see like these games just not be playable in the future, unless they make like new collections for these games for the PS5, or just have them fully backwards compatible in some shape or some way in the PS5. I know they have the PlayStation Now, but I'm not a big fan of PlayStation Now just because there's a lot of input delay and a lot of other issues with it. But that's really the only way you could play a lot of PS3 games in like a modern like hardware. So yeah, like I really hope Sony starts looking into more preservation for their games. Like just having like a good selection of PS3 and PS2 games and PS1 games on the PS5 would be sick. Like I wouldn't mind buying them again, honestly. Like it would suck. But like at this point, I think it's better than just like having them be gone forever with the PS3. Since I definitely think the PS3 is like super lacking in terms of like where you could get the games from anymore. Like you could really only play these games on the PS3. Like again, the Ratchet & Clank Futures trilogy, you could really only play that on the PS3 or on PS Now. But again, I'm not a big fan of PS Now. I'd rather just have it downloaded. So yeah, like I really hope more and more collections start going on PS5 for these PS3 games, because it's this type of stuff is going to become more and more common. And I admit I buy a lot of things digitally just because I'm lazy. I've been trying to buy more things physically. Like my PS5 collection, I've been trying to just keep it physical now. It doesn't really matter because you gotta download the game anyway. But at least I have the disc. At least like my PS4 collection is super small because like 80% of my PS4 games are digitally bought because I was like too lazy to like get them on Amazon. But yeah, this is the type of things we gotta start thinking about. It's a lot of these consoles are getting really old, and these companies aren't gonna see like any like benefit of keeping the stores open. So yeah, it's definitely things we gotta keep in mind now.
And going back on like the sort of PS3 stuff, there's a lot of like PS1 games that they released on there that are like really hard to come by that you can get on the PlayStation 3 store for like really cheap. I know the Mega Man Legends games were a point of discussion on Twitter, that people were like, hey, if you want these games, you should get them now before they close on July 2nd, which is very interesting, because once that sort of digital storefront closes, I'm sure the physical versions of those PS1 games are just going to go up even higher if you want to play those physically, or people are just going to emulate more. But yeah, definitely the infamous game and the Ratchet & Clank game sort of being gone from digital stores entirely as sort of like smaller, I guess like PS3 games towards their like main counterparts is definitely gonna suck. And I hope that, like you said, we do get some sort of like, even just like ports of like collections. Like they don't have to be like full HD remakes, but I'm sure that like Insomniac Games would want to like actually like enhance and like improve these games. I'm not sure if Sucker Punch is ever gonna do that for the infamous Festival of Blood game. I mean, it was alright, but I'm not gonna sort of die over it. But yeah, it definitely sucks for a lot of indie developers as well. I know that there's a lot of indie developers that developed games during this time, and some of them were like PlayStation 3 exclusive. I think Fat Princess, I'm not sure if that was like an indie game. But it did get a physical release, but that physical release has gone up in price along with everything else I was talking about earlier with the Vita stuff. So yeah, definitely as a person who has always bought things physically as much as I could, I mean, this was going to happen eventually, and that time for the PlayStation stuff is going to come very soon. So
yeah, again, just very sad. But at this point, just buy everything you can because it's gonna be gone forever.
Yeah.
I'm still rocking my fat PS3 that could play like every PlayStation console up to that point. Like you could do the PS2 and PS1 games, and it's still working. Like for like how many years I had that thing. But yeah, it's definitely some sad times. So moving on to Xbox. Xbox Live is now called the Xbox Network. This is probably in line with them just wanting to like sort of like connect like everything together. Like it seems like Microsoft is really keen on like destroying like Xbox Gold. Like we saw the price increase. Like they definitely want people to buy Game Pass instead. So maybe they just want to rebrand it at this point. So like Xbox Live, when I think about Xbox Live, I think very much of like Xbox Gold or the Xbox 360 in general. So I guess them just rebranding is probably just a good way just to bring everything together.
Yeah, and them rebranding after so long. I mean, the Game Informer article says that it was introduced in 2002, which was almost going to be 20 years ago, which is kind of crazy. And Xbox Live has always been synonymous with me with just like Xbox Online. So now it's Xbox Network. I'm sure that there's still people out there, including myself, that are probably still going to call it Xbox Live whenever we refer to the online stuff. But Microsoft just wants to, I guess, make everything unison with whatever new branding that they're trying to go for. And yeah, it is what it is. I'm sure that there's some people that are really upset about this, but it's just a name change. They're probably over it at this point, I hope.
Yeah, people get mad at like everything. Like I think Blizzard changed Battle.net to something else, but then I think they changed it back. And people were like really mad. I'm like, who cares? like it still works. Like Steam could be called like I don't know, like something else, and I wouldn't really care. It still works.
Yeah, it's just a naming thing, but some people have a really, I guess, sentimental attachment to these names or whatever. But just let them be upset if they want to be. Next up we got is Black Widow is going to be delayed to July 9th, 2021, and it'll also be coming to Disney Plus. I almost said PlayStation Plus. Yeah, Disney Plus Premier Access. So to anyone that doesn't know what Disney Plus Premier Access is that you need the subscription. And on top of that, I think it is a $30 price sort of paywall that you have to pay to watch it as well. I mean, I don't see why I'm glad that they're putting it on Disney Plus to begin with, but I don't see myself paying $30 for it. I'm sure that it is for some households, it would be a lot cheaper for them to buy it on Disney Plus than to like go to the theater, especially during now, even if we didn't have like this pandemic, going to the theater and like buying like however many tickets for like their 3 to 4 kids, and then themselves as like the parents, like that's obviously a lot of money. But with the Premier Access, it's just a $30 flat rate cost. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy it. I might, just because we got to talk about it on the podcast most likely. But it is what it is. I think that this movie has been delayed way too many times that at this point, a lot of people who are excited for it, props to them. They must really love Black Widow and like the cast and sort of like what this movie is going to show. But me personally, I'm just like, just goddamn release it already,
Yeah, I feel like it's been delayed like literally like 2 years at this point. Like again, I was like excited to watch it when it was gonna come out, but now I kind of just don't really care that much. I'm probably gonna buy it anyway, just cause again like you were saying with the theater, it probably would cost like more if we just watched it there. So I'm like, I don't mind paying. I mean, it's still stupid. Like it should still just be on Disney Plus for free, like everyone else is doing. Like HBO Max. But whatever. I'm probably gonna pay for it anyway because my brother and I are probably gonna watch it. So like that's fine. But yeah, at this point, like, I think all the other MCU stuff we've been seeing on Disney Plus has been like super good. So like Black
Hmm.
Widow just doesn't excite me as much, just because I feel like this is still stuck in the past, like literally, because I think this movie's just like a like backstory for Black Widow, who yeah. So obviously they might do something in the future with it, but I'm kind of looking forward in the MCU, and this is kind of feel like we're going back for a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of excited for it. I'm gonna buy it, but I think the whole Disney Premier Access thing is still kind of dumb. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on that.
Like you said, like this is like a prequel movie. I believe that this
Yeah.
takes place between Infinity War and Civil War or something like that. But it'll explore a lot of Black Widow's past and sort of who she is and all that stuff. So, to anyone that is still interested in Black Widow, despite what happens to her in the movies, it's not really spoilers at this point, just because, they show the stuff in like the Marvel sort of intro thing now, and pretty much everyone knows at this point, I hope. But
Yeah, that's true.
it is what it is. I'm sure that to those that are really, really excited for it, I hope that this lives up to your expectations, because me personally, I'm going into this with pretty much zero expectations, just like with WandaVision, and I hope that it's at least enjoyable, just like with most MCU stuff, even like Ant-Man 2. Like, I hate Ant-Man 2, but, there are some parts of that movie that, are still fun to watch, I guess, but we'll move on.
All right, so now we got the Ghost of Tsushima movie. I forgot this was happening. Oh, well, I guess it was announced. Yeah, it's gonna be directed by the John Wick director. So I guess you can expect a lot of violence and a lot of action, which kind of makes sense for a Ghost of Tsushima movie. And it seems like Sony in general really just wants their games to be movies at this point, like with the Uncharted movie and now Ghost of Tsushima.
Hmm.
And I guess it makes sense just because the style of the like Sony's big like AAA games, their exclusives are kind of modeled like movies, where it's like more cinematic and all that. So it makes sense that it would translate well into movies, and mostly because Ghost of Tsushima is more is a homage to all these old samurai movies. So yeah, it makes sense.
Hmm.
Now I don't know if it would be like good. Probably it'd probably be okay. I just feel like with video game movies is like I'd rather just play it and experience. Like that's what makes it special to me, because you get to
Hmm.
play the game and experience the story at the same time. Like Uncharted is like, oh look, I'm actually doing these adventures and stuff, and with Jin is like, oh, I'm actually doing like find the Mongolians and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like if it could be good. Who knows? This is
Yeah.
a new era for video game movies. So we gotta see how the Uncharted movie does. Then I could have reasonable expectations for this movie.
Yeah, definitely when video games go into movies or like TV shows or whatever other medium that isn't them like directly interacting with it, it does seem a bit strange, because video games are a very unique form of media where like you are interacting with it and you are directly controlling what happens on your screen, while with like everything else that like we consume, music, movies, TV shows, it's all like one way. So a video game movie of Ghost of Tsushima, I'm excited for. I hope that I believe the guy that plays Jin Sakai, like in the actual game, is 100% down to play the movie role, and like I don't see why not, because he
Yeah, that'd be
does.
sick.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that they modeled that actor's look off of Jin, so I don't see why that, especially since he is 100% up for it. Like, just like bring him in there. And I think that recasting most of the people from the game into the movie would definitely be a good idea, just because like you wouldn't have to have someone that sounds like Jin or someone that sounds like X other character, but yeah, this could definitely be very good, because I think that the story that Ghost of Tsushima told, while not super impressive, I feel like that they could go a lot further and a lot deeper in a movie compared to like what the game was doing, which was like a really ambitious, a really big open world game where like the story, where like, should I say, the main story wasn't like the main focus, because you were able to explore all of these other characters at the same time, with like the side missions and everything like that. So yeah, definitely Sony is putting a lot of eggs into other forms of entertainment, like with the HBO Last of Us show, and now with this movie and the Uncharted movie and all that stuff. So, but I'm definitely excited to see exactly how this plays out, especially since the John Wick director is directing this. Like, there's probably gonna be some like really like sick shots.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna be a lot more action based than something like the Uncharted movie, from what I could imagine.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's cool that Sony is putting more money into like these sort of like movie productions. I guess it'd be cool to see like Horizon Zero Dawn movie as well. I think that'd be a pretty interesting movie as well. But
Hmm.
we just gotta see because the Ratchet and Clank movie is kind of garbage. So we just get to see how all these other movies turn out. I mean, they'll probably be way better. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a God of War one as well. But I guess
Hmm.
we'll see how Uncharted does because I think a lot of this is binging on how well that movie does. So
Yeah. All right,
all right.
so
Oh,
next.
oh yeah, I'm like, go
It's all good. It's all good. Next up, we got is Back for Blood, the Left 4 Dead
Yeah.
game with the guys at Turtle Rock Studios. They have officially delayed it to October 12th, 2021, just to ensure that the game is, launching at its best, form. So,
Yeah.
like we said last episode, delays can be good and bad. I think one delay is fine, especially since this delay is still within the same year. I think a delay like Metroid Prime 4, where they're like, yeah, guys, we had to like throw the whole game out. I'm like, okay, like that's kind of concerning. But with a delay like this, it's decently, still soon. It's still within this year. I think a lot of people are excited for this game just because, Left 4 Dead, me personally, I still have a lot of nostalgia playing the Left 4 Dead games, whether it be on PC with like mods or like on the Xbox 360 with my friends. Like it was always so much fun just playing those games because, you had the different zombie types and it was just like a fun game to just, play with your friends and just shoot zombies. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I love Left 4 Dead. Obviously, I mean, I used to be a pretty big Valve fanboy, but they don't really do much games besides Dota anymore. But yeah, I was definitely looking forward to Back for Blood. And I thought a summer release date was great because not usually too many things come out during summer. So I'm like, oh, that'd be a sick thing to just play with everyone. But now it's been delayed. I'm like, that's all right. Like again, like I think a small delay like this just to polish things up, and it was probably also because of the beta. Is like it's like, oh, we could probably touch things up or fix some mechanics or whatever. I think that's totally fine.
Mhm.
Having it like just have these nice polishes is always good to have before the game actually comes out. Mostly because I think people are gonna have a pretty high like expectations for this game just because it's like literally just Left 4 Dead, but like which is not a bad thing at all, obviously. Like from the gameplay I've seen, it looks really good. I haven't had a chance to play the beta, so hopefully they do like an open one at some point. But yeah, it definitely looks promising, and I hope it could deliver because Left 4 Dead is again means a lot to a lot of people. People still play it like every day or something, mostly because I have like a bunch of mod support. So yeah, hopefully this game could hold the same candle to Left 4 Dead 2 because that is a it's a pretty big one to like hold up to. So yeah, definitely looking forward to Back 4 Blood when it actually does come out. And hopefully, it launches with not too many issues, because that's definitely an issue we see in a lot of video games nowadays.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so Attack on Titan, the final season part 2 is announced. I don't know why they took so long to like say it, but it's coming out later this year. I believe next winter, isn't it? Like it's gonna be like it's like kind of just like a
Uh,
whole year.
yeah. So the way that anime seasons work, it's winter
Yeah,
2022, but it's
yeah.
it's gonna start like in November, December of this year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I don't mind waiting it for it longer because I actually don't know how part twos work sometimes. Like, the second part of ReZero just happened like it was like, oh, just wait like 2 weeks and it's there. But this
Hmm.
was gonna take longer, which is fine. Like, hopefully they could, obviously with Attack on Titan in the final season, there was a lot of CG, which some people did not like. I don't know if they'll like fix that because it seems like this next part is gonna be a lot more action packed. So hopefully they could like sort of like polish it up a bit. I mean, it probably will just because of the backlash they got due to like the CG Titans. They probably might like try to do something. But yeah, I mean, I'll talk more about it when we get up to it. But I thought the final season part 1 was great. So I'm really looking forward to part 2, and I'm happy it's not like a movie that was like condensed into like everything. I don't mind a
Hmm.
movie if it's like literally the final fight and they want to make that really epic. Like I don't mind that if that's what they want to do. But part 2 is like, yeah, I'd rather have a part 2. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. So
Yeah, I'm sure that they waited so long to announce this because they were probably thinking about like that Demon Slayer movie popped up. Should we make a Attack on Titan movie? But they were like, it'd probably be better because of how much story driven Attack on Titan is. I feel
yeah,
it's probably better to just make it a whole second part of the season. Which, by
yeah,
the way, like I saw that coming from like a mile away because I'm like, there's
yeah,
no way like this is like the final season for like 12 episodes when like we still have however many chapters within the manga to go because I don't read it, but I knew that like there was still stuff that needed to be explored, and I'm like, this is not going to end properly. So But yeah, Attack on Titan final season. It has been probably the most hyped and most looked at anime of this past season. And I think that the backlash, quote unquote, I will say, is mainly from just, people nitpicking and all of this other stuff. Because I talked to one of my coworkers and he was like, yeah, like the CG was bad or like the animation was bad. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't even notice it. Like, I'm not sure. I mean, when it is like a huge, like sort of like Titan and like you can like visibly notice it, it's like, okay, like that is like, it is what it is. But I'm not gonna, like go on Twitter and like complain about it or whatever,
Yeah.
because, after watching the Trash Taste episode with like that one animation guy, I'm like, all right, like these guys like go in like every single week and like they're putting in so much work and so much effort to try to make it the best that they can. And I'm sure the people at Mappa, like they have so much stuff going on now. Like they're supposed to do Chainsaw Man next. Like they have a lot on their plate, and I'm sure that the people that work at Mappa are definitely trying their best to make everyone happy because I'm sure that they are aware that anime fans are a little crazy sometimes. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, going back to what you said with the CG, yeah, also don't really mind it if it's like subtle things, like at all. Like I really don't care. But yeah, I think it's like main like Titans, it could be a little off-putting. I mean, I don't mind it in general, but yeah. Like I again, people just getting mad and doing death threats though are like awful. Like don't do that. But yeah, Mappa definitely has like they're doing like a lot. Like they're doing Jujutsu Kaisen still, right?
Yeah, pretty sure they're doing that.
Right, yeah, season 2 or the movie. I don't know what they're doing now. Yeah, they're doing that, Attack on Titan, final season part 2, and like a bunch of other stuff. So hopefully they don't spread themselves too thin, and they can like make things like really good. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how the final season part 2 turns out, because very excited for that.
Yes, sir. Next up, we got is Suicide Squad, the Red Band trailer. So I think that this one was probably the best trailer we've seen of this movie so far, just because it really does show, like, I guess James Gunn's sort of style of, like, directing, where, like, a lot of the characters being able to interact with each other and, like, sort of play off of one another. And obviously, there's a lot of banter, and I think that that is definitely the charm of James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where they would always play off of each other and always sort of make jokes. But we could also see how bloody and how, I guess, R-rated this movie actually is. And yeah, I'm very excited for it, because I honestly forgot that Margot Robbie's in this movie as Harley Quinn again, because I guess they just like throw her in everything whenever it's Harley Quinn, because she actually does like truly love the character. And the Birds of Prey movie, I thought that was like fine. Like I actually had like a pretty good time watching that in theaters. I only watched it once, so maybe a second viewing might be a little different. But I know that James Gunn with Suicide Squad, I feel like that he's like the best director for this, and I think that this trailer really does showcase what he's got cooking for us, if you will.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, like I think it definitely sets the tone really well, like what the movie is gonna be, and I think James Gunn is gonna make it like really good, just because it does have the same vibes it gives me with Guardians of the Galaxy, just R-rated, basically. I mean, I'm one of the weird people that thought the first Suicide Squad wasn't as bad as everyone thought it was. Like I thought it was just like whatever. I'm like, it's okay. Like I think the hate was a little overblown for it, but whatever. This one definitely does look a lot better though. Again, it kind of reminds me of like Deadpool plus like Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm down for. So yeah, hopefully it's good, because James Gunn has made some good stuff, and I think I think Suicide Squad is a perfect fit for him. And again, watching this trailer, it really sets the tone of what it's gonna be, and yeah, hopefully it doesn't suck, because I thought DC was on a good roll, and then they weren't. Like Wonder Woman 2 really disappointed me. That movie wasn't very good in my eyes, and I know people are liking the Snyder Cut, but again, I don't really count that, because it's not really like a new thing, I guess. So yeah, Suicide. I mean, that's just DC in general, right? They're very hit or miss. So hopefully this new Suicide Squad is good. And yeah, I'll definitely be watching it. Wait, is this on? Is this gonna be on HBO Max?
I'm not sure yet. I know that they. Let me just skip to the end of the trailer. I'm not sure if they even announced a release date for it.
Okay.
Entirely. Wait, let me do a quick Google search. It's a bit awkward. Okay. It's going to release, according to Google, August 6th of this year. So it could come to HBO Max. I wouldn't see why not, because Warner Brothers is literally throwing everything under the sun that they have on HBO Max. But yeah, I think, whether it is I doubt Warner Brothers is going to do a theater only thing because they've literally been doing simultaneous releases with everything, starting with Wonder Woman. So yeah, I guess it'll still come out this summer. So hopefully that is, is a good time for that movie to come out, if you will.
Right. All right. So last piece of news here, E3 2021 will be a full digital experience as probably expected, and it's gonna be free. It's gonna be free for everyone. I mean, thank God. I think there was like some rumor that you had to like pay for it or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like $35 or whatever. I'm like, that's really stupid. But now you don't. So yeah. Yeah, freaking ESA, man. I actually really do like E3. I know people are like, oh, E3 sucks, but I'm like, I don't know. I feel like everyone having a direct is like really annoying because I feel like it doesn't respect my time. At least with E3, I'm like, okay, this like 3 days or four, whatever, is gonna be just pure gaming news. I could focus on that, and then we're good. Like, obviously there's gonna be like some directs or whatever from other companies in the middle of the year, like they usually do. But having it just be like sporadic, like, hey, Square is gonna do a thing here. I'm like, all right. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people like shit on E3, and I think that's more just the corporate side of things. Like, I think having like a dedicated like weekend or whatever, like just dedicated to gaming news is great. And yeah, just like the COVID happened, a bunch of other things. So yeah, it's good as it's gonna be free, like it should be. I don't know how big E3 is gonna be this year. Probably not that big, because again, it's all digital, and I'm pretty sure a lot of companies are like, we kind of just don't want to bother with it. So we're gonna have to see. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be like it's gonna be a thing again. You have 3 days of the press conferences like they usually do. June 15th to the 17th. So we're just gonna have to wait and see how this pans out, basically.
Yeah, I feel like if it was behind a paywall, like that just sounds dumb because
yes,
you just need one guy to buy it, and then like he just tweets everything. Like, I don't know, within the age of the internet, making digital events behind a paywall, unless it's like a like music concert or something like that, where like it's not like news related, because this is all like information based or like trailer based, because like all of this stuff is eventually going to be free to everyone. So the rumor of it being behind a paywall was kind of weird, but E3 instantly like on Twitter was like, it's going to be free, guys. Like, please don't freak out. We want people to have their eyes on this experience instead of a expo this year. But yeah, I think that E3, I think that you made a great point about respecting everyone's time, where it's like, all right, if you like games and you want to know what's coming out soon, or like what's going to come out in the future, this entire week or however many days is going to be dedicated to everyone announcing everything. So yeah, I really do like that aspect, because when you have like you said, like Square Enix just like randomly doing like a event where like they announce one thing that we're interested in, which was like Life is Strange or whatever, like there's no reason for me to attend that event when like I know that like something's going to come out of it that I'll eventually find out later. But when it's like all of these like press conferences and like all of these events, you could watch it all at once, and maybe you'll be surprised by something that they announce, or be disappointed, or who knows. So yeah, I think that E3 even happening this year is still like a good thing, even if it is fully digital, just because of COVID and everything. Yeah, because I think last year it was like completely canceled, but like people were still like announcing stuff and doing their thing as they were. But E3, say what you will about it, I think that it is probably going to stay here for as long as people are making games. So
yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I mean, obviously, they might not see it might see a change in management or something to like make E3 work better, because I know a lot of people are like kind of burnt out on E3. But we're just gonna have to see what the future lies like after all this is over, like after COVID's over, and when companies could buy spots and stuff again. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. It's a very shaky future for E3, but we're just gonna see what happens there.
All right, so now we're going to get into our recent activities. I think we'll start with Attack on Titan, so both of us could discuss, and then you'll talk about your other things, and then I got a whole ass list. So
all right, so Attack on Titan, the final season, part 1, which we could call it that now. I really liked it, but I think a lot of people, I actually don't know what the general consensus is, because I haven't looked into it that much. I've just kind of just been in my own world watching it because I love it. I could definitely see people not liking it as much, though, because it is very political based. It's very much like season 3, part 1, which I liked a lot as well. But after the first couple of episodes that were pretty action packed, it was a lot, not slower, but it was a lot more political, like drama and stuff like that, which again I'm totally down with. But I
Mm-hmm.
could see how people might not like it as much because like, where's the Titans? You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, because after the first bit, there really isn't much of that. It's more again political stuff, which I don't mind because I thought it was great. But if you didn't like season 3 part 1 that much, I feel like you might not like this season as much as like season 3 part 2, which was more action based.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it looks like it's gonna follow that same formula where part 2 is definitely gonna be more action based, just from how the first part ended. So like it's gonna be fine. Like we're still gonna get a bunch of stuff happening, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this was definitely like a season just to set things up, like explain what's been going on and all that. So yeah, I mean I thought it was great, but I don't know. What are your opinions on it?
I mean, as a person who fits in that vote of, not being a huge fan of season 3, part 1, I gave it like an 8 out of 10 on my Annie list thing. I actually really enjoyed this first part of the final season. Maybe it's because I was actually watching it as it was coming out, and like I was in like the sort of like discussion and seeing like what people were thinking and all of this other stuff. But I think that the introduction of the new characters, which I'm not gonna, say anything because, anything can be a spoiler, I guess.
Right.
But the first episode, you get introduced to like these new characters and sort of like see this other side of the world of Attack on Titan, and I thought that was very interesting in how they connect it all to everyone else, and the overall, I guess, story that goes throughout part 1 was very, very good and very, very entertaining. Definitely a lot of political stuff that was going on, but I felt that it was easier to follow once you like fully understood what was going on and everything like that, because I believe that there is a jump or something like that, like a time jump, because not everything is obviously fully explained yet, just like how Attack on Titan does. They're like, oh, we're gonna like put these pieces here, and then you'll eventually find out the whole picture probably by the end of the final season, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, I really, just still love Attack on Titan, and I'm sure that there's some people now going online reading up on the manga because they cannot, wait however many months it is from now up until the next winter season to see what happens next, because it is really good. And I'm sure that there have been a lot of people who have gotten into Attack on Titan recently just because they've been seeing the whole conversation amongst their friends or peers on Twitter just to see what's going on with this anime. So.
Yeah, like again, I mean, I'm not gonna read the manga just 'cause I want to see it animated.
Yeah.
Especially now that it's gonna be probably a bunch of fights. Like I want to see that shit animated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely still I think my favorite anime. I don't want to say anything too soon because I could get Game of Thrones right and like the ending sucks. So, I think isn't the manga ending this month? Like.
Yeah, so like that's how I knew that there was gonna be a part 2. I'm like,
Yeah.
the fucking manga is still going. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, the final chapter is supposed to come out like very soon, so we're
Right.
gonna know the ending of Attack on Titan, and hopefully we don't get spoiled by then. By
Yeah,
the
please no.
by the part 2. So, but yeah.
It's very happy. This is one of the few times I'm happy I don't use Twitter that much because I don't see like any spoilers.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
no,
Twitter's
no.
like so like rampant with spoilers about
Mhm.
everything. So
Yeah, like when the Trash Taste guys like talk about it on their podcast, they are 100% right. Like people who watch the episode when it comes out on the Sunday, they are instantly taking screenshots and like posting like their thoughts on Twitter and everything like that. And like, I've been spoiled a few times by like certain scenes, but like it wasn't like a big deal because I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should just watch it now or whatever.
Right.
But I know that there's some people that want to, wait for the whole thing to come out and, sort of just like binge watch it because that's just how we consume media these days. But yeah, I feel like that the sort of like grace period to like not spoil it should be there, but obviously anime fans don't give a shit, and then they just put like a thing on top like spoilers for Attack on Titan or whatever, and I'm just like, oh, that's not enough because I see a whole ass fucking picture down there. But anyways.
it's very true. Yeah, now I can actually watch like some of the other anime that have been happening. Like
Mhm.
Jujutsu Kaisen, I just totally skipped out on, so I'm definitely gonna binge that. And ReZero Part 2, I just like did not watch, so
Mhm.
I'm definitely gonna watch that. Well, I watched the first half of season 2, not the second half. That's been happening at the same time as Attack on Titan. I heard it's really good though, so
Mhm.
I love ReZero as well. So I'm definitely gonna try to catch up with those now that Attack on Titan is over.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, so now my two other things I've been playing. These are a really dangerous combination of games because they're very addicting. And like I have so much schoolwork, but I'm like I just want to play these two games. So the first one
Mhm.
being Monster Hunter Rise. I think this is like a pretty big release that has come out recently. It's basically Monster Hunter on Switch. If you have played Monster Hunter before, it's probably a safe bet you probably bought it already. But I actually think this is a great Monster Hunter for newer players because I think the game is like a lot easier. Basically, how the older Monster Hunter games worked was there were two sets of like quest hubs. There was the
Mm-hmm.
village quests and the hub quests. The hub quests are like the harder serve things that you're supposed to do with other people, but they actually scale it for like solo players now, which is really nice. But and then they have the village quests, which are a lot easier and sort of introduce you to monsters. Like the monsters there have like less mechanics and stuff, and like have way less HP. Oh god, burp. Have way less HP. Um, so like, it's way easier just to like solo them and so I just learn their attack patterns as they're not that aggressive as well. And I think that's great for newer players. And I think the game just introduces a lot of convenience. Like Monster Hunter World already had a lot of convenience baked into it. Like you didn't have to like buy new pickaxes. You didn't have to paintball monsters to know where they are. They just kind of show up on your map. They fixed the inventory system. A lot of stuff they did in World, which were fantastic. Monster Hunter World is like the best-selling Capcom game that came out like ever, I think. So it definitely says a lot of that how big Monster Hunter is now. And I think Rise continues that streamlining while making the game feel too brain dead, which is good because I know Monster Hunter is really based on sort of complexities and learning its systems. And I don't think it lost that. It just made it even more streamlined, which is great. I think newer players are going to have a really good time with this game. And that kind of goes into just the new mechanics. I'm just going to explain the new mechanics because, if you play Monster, Monster, you just fight a bunch of monsters. So here's the new things introduced in Rise. You got the wire bug, which is like you could zip around like Spider-Man and do a bunch of crazy moves over your weapons. It's fantastic. It really helps the mobility of the game. Since Monster Hunter is usually pretty static, not a lot of weapons are very mobile, except like the dual blades or insect glaive, because you could like jump around and stuff. But with the wire bug, you do a bunch of crazy crap, and like I've seen some crazy like videos about what you could do with this thing, and it just looks like a whole new thing to master in the game, while not feeling too alienating. Like I feel like any player could just like sort of like zip around as Spider-Man and stuff, and it just feels great. You have the Palamutes, which are like your little dogs. You could ride on them and like sort of run around the whole map, and you have like infinite stamina, which is great. It just makes games to the monster like way easier. You don't have to like traverse the whole map and waste all your stamina. It just makes the game so much faster. Just get to the monster and start fighting it. I know people don't like they lost the hunting aspect of the game, but like whatever. I'm mostly there to kill the monster. I don't really care about the ambiance of like finding the monster, finding its tracks. Like no. I just want to kill the freaking monster. Another thing they introduced was Rampage mode. This one's a little more controversial, but it's like a total optional game mode where it's basically a tower defense where you could set up towers and like a bunch of waves of monsters would come out and it's just a tower defense. You just set up towers, defend your gate. If they get through the gate, you lose. There's a boss monster that appears at the final round, and then you can just kill it like how you usually do. It's fun. It's something that I probably won't play a lot of just because it's like I don't think there's enough variety in its gameplay. I think there's only like one map in it, so it kind of gets old really fast. But it's cool that they're still trying new things. I think it's cool that they are introducing new modes and stuff to keep the game refreshing, and I do appreciate that. It doesn't feel half-assed or anything. It definitely feels like something that could just get better over time, though. But yeah, besides that, the game is just fantastic. The performance is like actually mind blowing. Like this is using the RE engine, which Capcom has been using for like a lot of their games. Obviously, with all the Resident Evil games have been using it. Monster Hunter World did not use it though. It used Unreal Engine, I think. So, like this game loads like insanely fast for like a Switch game. Like the loading times are less than 10 seconds. Like it feels like I have a freaking SSD in my Switch. It's insane. And the game graphically just looks really nice. Like I think all the models look really good. Obviously the textures on like the actual maps look, are gonna look a little more scuffed than something like Monster Hunter World, just because it's on the Nintendo Switch still. But the game runs at a super solid 30 FPS. Obviously it's not 60 frames because again this is the Nintendo Switch. But I run super smooth. Like I have not noticed any dips. The only time it really dips if there's like a lot of water going on, but that doesn't really happen. It's only really like one area of the map where it gets pretty framey, but that's like literally the only place I've seen it sort of drop frames. Like it's actually crazy how well this game runs. And yeah, just overall, it's just a really good Monster Hunter game. Like it's hard to put down. All the new mechanics of like getting your mobility up and just getting to the monster as fast as you can. Like it just all feels so much better than like World did. Because World I felt kind of dragged sometimes when you had to like find the tracks of the monster and then find it. The maps were huge in that game, so it was really annoying when a monster ran away and yeah, run away all the way to get it. I feel like this game really streamlined that process to just like kill the monster, and I really appreciate that. It's a good mix of World and like the older generation of Monster Hunter games. So yeah, if you're a fan of Monster Hunter, pick it up. If you're not, there's a free demo available that sort of gives you the gist of like everything this game has to offer. And if you like that demo, definitely give it a try. I think it's really welcoming to new players, and I'm just really enjoying it. And I can't wait to get more into the harder fights since I'm still not really up to that point. Because I want to play more of it, but another game came out, which I'm going to talk about right now. It's Binding of Isaac Repentance. So yeah, Repentance is the new DLC expansion for Binding of Isaac. The last expansion, Afterbirth Plus, came out like 2018, I think. It's been a while since like a new Isaac content has came out. You know, Admin said like, Afterbirth Plus, that was it. That was the last Isaac expansion. But they said psych and then released this. So basically what Repentance adds is Antibirth. Antibirth was a really good fan-made expansion for the original Isaac. Not the original, well, for Rebirth, I'm sorry, for Binding of Isaac Rebirth. And it was really good. It added like a bunch of new floors, a bunch of new bosses, a new final boss. It was like some really quality stuff. I remember playing it back when it came out. And just everyone was just super impressed with how quality it was. Like it felt like it just been in the game. So admin actually got the guy who made the DLC or the free mod and said, hey, you want to put this in the game? He's like, okay. So obviously it's kind of weird that you got to pay for it, but it did change a lot of things. It's not like you're not just buying a free mod to put it in the main game. There's been a bunch of content added into this game. Like, it's actually crazy how much content has been added into this game. I don't really want to spoil anything because the game literally just came out 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, like, doubles the size of the game. That's all I'm gonna say. Like the characters you have now, just keep that in mind because that shit it gets doubled. it's a lot of content in the game. Yeah, the new floors are like a lot of fun. Basically how they were in Anti-Birth. They added some new stuff. But the thing that's been getting people really peeved off is the balance changes and like just the difficulty in general. So basically, what they want to do with this expansion is just rebalance a whole bunch of things. Like they want to nerf a lot of the stronger items, but buff a lot of the useless items. Because Isaac has a lot of useless items. Like there's a ton of useless items that don't really do anything. This DLC is like sort of their answer to that, where they basically nerfed almost every good item, but buffed like every bad item. But not every bad item is like good still. Like bad items are still kind of bad, but the good items are kind of just not good either. And that's been getting people really pissed off. Um, I I mean, I'm one that says you shouldn't nerf anything in a single player game because that's kind of dumb. I think you just keep everything fine but buff all the weaker stuff because it's just not fun to get no damage up when you're doing a run. But I'm okay with most of it. Like most of the nerfs are justified. I'm like, okay, I get it. And some of the buffs have been really good. Like they made some really trash tier items into like things I would actually get excited to pick up, which is crazy. But I know like some people are just like been just not happy with it, and I think it's just because there's a new meta now. Like they definitely changed a lot of mechanics. Like you can't just get every single devil deer now. You need to focus a lot more on defense and just getting a bunch of HP and stuff. Like you can't play the game how we were playing before. Like every time we would play like that, just forgetting about HP and just picking up every devil deal, try to get as strong as possible. I just die like immediately. Like you definitely want to focus on getting more HP, maybe focus on getting angel rooms, gain like more defense. Like it's a totally different game now. And I could see what Edmund mean by like just give the game some time. The meta is gonna change. Just get used to it. I think he's right. Like I thought the game was really hard at first, but I've won. I got the true ending already on Isaac, and I've already got another ending as some other characters. And yeah, it really isn't that hard once you get the hang of it. You just gotta know the enemy patterns, like just know what's good now. Don't take every deal with the devil. Like it's definitely something that's gonna take time, but people are gonna get used to it. And I'm by far, I'm not the best Isaac player, like at all, like not by a long shot. But I could definitely do it, and I think other people, if you just give it some time and just readjust the meta, I think it'll be fine. Like you'll be fine. I think the hate is a little overblown with the balance changes, and I think once people get over it, they're gonna see all the great content that this expansion has added, and I'm really excited to go deeper into it as well. So, but yeah, that's kind of my rant on that. But yeah, that's basically it. I'm probably gonna be playing these games for the rest of March, or I'm sorry, rest of April. Jesus. So yeah, but yeah, that's everything I've been doing.
All right, got a list here. So I was playing one game, Space Otter Charlie. My bad. I was given code for this through a Twitter DM from the developers, and they were like, yeah, check the game out. And I was like, all right, thank you. So I played a little bit of it. I think I played like an hour or two. It's a puzzle platformer where you're playing as a otter in space, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty chill. There's not much that I can really say past that because I've only played so much of it. But so far, I am enjoying it. It's very much a game that I can just chill out to, listen to music, listen to a podcast, and sort of just get through these puzzles as I'm killing myself in some of these levels. But Attack on Titan, we already talked about. Yeah, literally everything I'm going to talk about now is going to be all anime. Wonder Egg Priority. So this was a anime that I talked about last episode, and I was like, this is weird. This is a very interesting anime. It's a original by Cloverworks, who also did Promised Neverland season 1 and 2, and Horiyama, and some other anime that I don't know on the top of my head. But Wonder Egg Priority, let me just reiterate what it is. It's a action, drama, fantasy, mystery, psychological thriller. That's pretty much all of the genres that AniList has here. And if you guys want to see my AniList, it is anilist.co/user/tvsonic. But yeah, they actually mix all of these genres really well because you follow 4 girls in their sort of adventures of using these eggs and stuff like that. It sounds weird, but the eggs serve a purpose in like what their goal is, and each one of them has a goal of bringing one of their friends or someone that they once knew back from the dead, I guess. And the last episode that I watched was episode 11 because episode 12 is locked behind Funimation Premium. But episode 11 is probably my favorite episode because it really fleshes out the structure and the world of like this show, and sort of like, I guess, where it all started from the people that are tasking these girls to obtain their wonder eggs. And yeah, it is, like I said, it's a very weird anime. I think if you watch the first episode and you're not interested to watch more, you can drop it. But I think the first episode really shows how beautifully animated the show is. The soundtrack for this show is really, really good as well. And also the characters, they're all different. They're all unique. They're all likable in some way. And you sort of get to see why they act in certain ways because of the character development and sort of getting to know them more as the show progresses. So I don't know what happens in episode 12. Supposedly some crazy shit happens, but there is going to be a Wonder Egg Priority Special Edition or something like that, like a special to take place after the first season, I guess. But yeah, I'm very much into Wonder Egg Priority because it is just so good and so weird at the same time, but it's good. Next up is Jujutsu Kaisen. This is pretty much the other shonen that people are really, really into, aside from Attack on Titan. And by the end of this first season, it is really good. I think that I don't love it as much as a lot of people do because they're like super duper like into it. They're now reading on the manga. They're buying the manga because I think if you try to buy the manga today, you're gonna have a really hard time trying to find volumes of it because everyone's literally buying it. But me personally, I like it. I think I can wait for season 2. I'm not going to read ahead in the manga. I think that this is definitely a very, very good shonen. And I think that it does things really, really well, such as the main character, Itadori. He's actually very likable. I think that his personality and sort of like what his goals are and sort of who he is as a person really does show. And all of the other people surrounding him, Fishiguro, and Kurisaki. Those two are pretty much the sort of like Sasuke and Sakura of the group, and then you got the Kakashi equivalent with Gojo, which like everyone fucking loves Gojo because of the shit that happens in the show, which is understandable. But yeah, there's demons, there's action. Like I think that if you've been watching the show as it has come out, you probably know or how you feel, obviously. But I think when Damien starts watching it, I think that he will enjoy it maybe more than me. I'm not sure, but I'll let him decide that when he gets to it. And then the other thing I watched was Dr. Stone season 2. I forgot that Dr. Stone was airing this season because it's just been so much other anime. I think I talked about it on like 2 to 3 episodes ago or whatever. But Dr. Stone season 2, I literally like sat down and was like, well, there's only 11 episodes this season. Let me sort of watch where I left off, which I believe was like episode 4 or something like that. So I started on episode 5, and Dr. Stone season 2 is, not that bad. I think that if you watch season 1, season 2 is more good stuff. I wouldn't say that it's fire or like, it's better than season 1. I think that, with a science shonen anime and how much cap this show has and sort of just like what the fuck's going on sort of thing, it's still good. I really do like the sort of science aspect that they bring into the show, and I'm excited to see where season 3 goes because it's going in a very interesting direction. My Hero season 5 started only episode 1. It was a I mean, this isn't really a spoiler. If you've been watching My Hero, the first episodes are goddamn recaps to sort of, catch you up to speed on like who these characters are and everything like that. But there is a after credit scene which sets up episode 2. But yeah, My Hero's back. I'm excited to see where it goes because I actually did read ahead in the manga because I bought the manga holiday last year because it was like on sale on Right Stuff, and I was like, let me just buy this stuff. So I've been forcing myself to read ahead to go and get value out of the manga before episodes of the anime are produced. But I have read some YouTube comments and some forums that allude to some things that happened that I'm not gonna say. But My Hero back. It's going to be very, very exciting. Domestic Girlfriend. Yeah, all right. So this one is a show that I sort of was just like, all right, well, I got some time to kill. Let me just, go through my list and just pick something, and I love romance anime. I love, rom-coms, whatever. This one was the first one that was actually like ecchi. And I was like, okay, like this shit's going to be weird. This is a drama ecchi romance. And you probably heard some stuff, like anyone listening, you probably heard some like weird shit that happens in this fucking show with like, sisters and teachers or whatever. Yeah. So, I obviously, or maybe not obviously, but I learned about this show from Gaunt because he made like 4 videos about it. Yeah. One of them, he literally talks to the author of it, which I wanted to watch, but I'm like, I should probably watch it first. Which, by the way, like the anime doesn't cover all of the manga, which Gaunt spoils like what happens in the manga in his videos, and like the stuff that happens after season 1. I don't even know if there is going to be a season 2, but what happens after season 1, I'm just like, what the fuck? Wait, what? She did that? Like, huh? But yeah, going back to the actual anime, it is fucking crazy. It is like actually watching a train wreck happen right before your eyes. The amount of times when I was watching this show where I was like, what the fuck's going on? No shot, no fucking way. What is going on? You didn't lock your door. Like just crazy shit is just happening. And I'm just like, wow, like I can't believe like this is like actually how the story is progressing. And like certain things that happen within the show 100% will not happen the way it is in real life. And I'm just like, well, it was fun while it lasted. It's only 12 episodes. It's like, if you know what you're getting into, you're going to have a fucking fun time because really, like, I knew that, like, this show was going to be fucking insane. And it is. Like, it is actually, like, trashy anime, but I loved it. Every single episode, something happens where I was just like, I can't, okay, whatever, next episode. Like, I have to see what happens. But yeah, it is crazy. The only normal people in the show are the parents. That's it. Those are the only 2 normal people in the show. Everyone else is fucking weird and like crazy, but enough of that. Teasing Master, Tagaki-san, that is the show that I talked about way too much the other episode, but it's pretty much about this girl and boy in middle school. Tagaki-san, she teases Nishikata, and that's pretty much the entire anime / manga. And the manga, I've been reading from volume 2, and I think I'm up to volume 9. I read up to, and pretty much just like in the anime, it's like, each chapter is like a little adventure with them too, and it's fun, it's entertaining, it's cute. I can pretty much read a full volume within like an hour because, the dialogue is like not a lot there, and the chapters are very easy to like sort of go through. But yeah, I'm very much enjoying reading the manga, despite me knowing like what happens most of the time. There are like a couple of stories that weren't adapted into the anime that I was like, oh, okay, like let me go and see it in terms of like how this plays out. And I could see like why they chose to not adapt it into the anime compared to like some of the other stories, because some of the other ones are definitely a lot better to show within like anime, I guess, compared to like the manga or whatever. And then the My Hero manga, like I said, I have been reading it because I want to stay ahead and sort of stay on top of everything like that. So all right, I've been talking for a bit, but I'm gonna make this quick, okay? So, my top 5 anime from the past season, so winter 2021. Obviously, number 1 is Attack on Titan. Jujutsu Kaisen is number 2. I know it started like the other season, but it ended this season, so I'm counting it. Wonder Egg Priority is number 3. Dr. Stone is number 4, and then number 5 is Promised Neverland season 2. I'll talk about that at the end because I'm gonna go into spoilers, because that show really, like, you can't really talk about that show without spoiling like what happens in terms of like how it compares to the manga, which is spoilers in my eyes. So and then 5 anime that I'm looking forward to for this season in the spring: My Hero, Don't Toy with Miss Nagatoro. So yeah, I love teasing Master Tagaki-san. So another show where like this person is teasing someone else. And then number 3 is Shaman King. This is probably going to be the newest shonen that I think a lot of people are going to be having their eyes on, because this is a new version of Shaman King. If you guys don't know what the anime / manga is, it pretty much came about in like the early 2000s or something like that. And now they're readapting it into a anime, because I think the original anime adaptation didn't adapt everything or didn't do it exactly the way the manga did. I'm not entirely sure what the situation is, but I know that a lot of people are looking forward to this, including myself. Number 4, this one's gonna sound fucking weird. After being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway. Yeah, so
the titles, man.
Look, you know me, I love fucking romance bullshit, whatever the fuck, and this one is categorized under drama, romance, slice of life. So I'm all in on that. If it's weird, FBI, I swear to God, it wasn't me. But the first episode premieres in like 2 or 3 days, so hopefully it's good. Because I just like watching romance anime. I don't know what it is. And then my number 5th anime is Tokyo Revengers. So this shit is gonna sound weird as well, but this one involves like time travel or whatever. Okay. So let me just go and find it real quick. Okay. So pretty much this freelancer guy, he has a shitty life. And then he finds out the only girlfriend that he's had his entire life, that he dated in middle school, she was killed by a Majin gang. And then after her death, he's standing on a train station platform and he gets pushed over onto the tracks thinking that he died. He opens his eyes and he's back 12 years ago. So now he's trying to, relive his best days and sort of, get revenge on his life and save his girlfriend and, be better or whatever. The manga's still going, so I'm not sure exactly how this one's gonna end. But I think that the premise in and of itself, it sounds very interesting. The genres that this one follows in is action, drama, romance, supernatural. So all 4 of those genres I'm actually like kind of down with. So yeah, and I think that a lot of people are, or not a lot of people are, keeping their eyes on that one. So I'll keep you guys posted whenever the first episode comes out for that. All right, so now I'm gonna try to quickly talk about Promised Neverland season 2, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this one. I'm gonna spoil it, so if you guys don't want to be spoiled, jump to our It Takes Two discussion. So yeah, Promised Neverland season 2. This is a fucking train wreck of a season. I'm gonna be honest. There's only 11 episodes, but they end the entire fucking show in 11 episodes. So what happens? So last time I talked about it, I was like, I can see like where they skipped some, arcs. They skipped like 2 or 3 arcs or something like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I can get why they did it. The reason why they did it was because they wanted us to get back to Norman. And like, obviously Norman didn't fucking die because we didn't see his death. So they obviously sort of fast traveled to that and, like time skipped and like sort of brought us back to those 3 characters again, because it was Emma and Ray for a while, for like 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 episodes, and then it's like, oh, okay, now we got Norman back in. So Norman, he's like, we gotta kill the fucking demons or whatever the fuck, I forget their goddamn names, but anyways, he's like, we gotta kill them, and Emma's like, but we don't have to, like they have families and shit. And I'm like, all right, I can see where she's coming from, but I can also see where fucking Norman's coming from, like these motherfuckers, they killed everyone. They're actually demons. Anyways, so, they pretty much just rush everything. And like the final episode is the fucking like, it's such a tragedy. Like, all right, so it's like, all right, so you guys could go to the human world. Like they pretty much got to that point. Like they got to the point where it was like, all right, we could get these kids to the human world. But obviously Emma, Ray, and Norman, they're going to stay and try to, fix shit on their side and sort of fix the promised Neverland, if you will. And then it's a fucking slideshow of them fixing shit. And then it jumps to, what's that kid's name? I forget his name. But it jumps to one of the kids that they left at the orphanage or whatever. And then it shows him like older. And then it shows Emma, Ray, and Norman like in the human world. And then it ends. And I'm like, they actually like rushed the end because why? Like they could have made like easily like at least 4 seasons of this shit if they just followed the manga. But now, because me personally, I was like, all right, I'm gonna just watch the anime and like, not like spoil myself with the manga, because I was like, I'm not doing that shit with Demon Slayer because I just love Demon Slayer too much. But with this show, I love season 1, but I was like, sort of able to give myself that, I guess, will to be like, I'm not gonna read the manga. But now I have to fucking read the manga because they literally skipped a lot of shit for like no reason. And because of that, the pacing is all over the place. Like literally, if you if you know of this train wreck of season 2, you probably are going to read the manga at some point if you want to know exactly what happens, because, and like even then, like I heard like the manga like isn't even like that good either. But
yeah, it's not. Yeah.
it is just crazy that like they just decided to, because I don't think we've ever had a situation like this where like season 1 was fucking praised, like people love season 1, and then season 2 they just like purposely shit the bed where they just like rush everything within only 11 episodes to just give us the ending of the entire show for no apparent reason, with like no real character development throughout the show either, because we don't really get to see Norman, Emma, or Ray like grow from it. And like, by the way, fucking Norman's like a psycho. Like the reason why I was like super interested in Promised Neverland season 2 even after like the jump was because we saw that like Norman was like super like he was gonna like die or some shit, and like he 100% wanted to like kill the fucking demons, and he kills some, but like it doesn't, like they don't like address it like at all. Like they're like, like Norman's kind of sus now. They're sort of just like, it's Norman. Like, what else can he do? I'm like, what the fuck? Like they don't address anything within the fucking anime, and it is crazy that like this even came out the way it did, because I feel like that if like whoever behind the scenes decided to make this season 2 such a rush in only 11 episodes, even 12 wouldn't have fucking done any better. Like just rushing the ending like this is just a fucking travesty, and that's all I really have to say. But yeah, I mean, is there anything you want to say?
No, I'm just really happy I didn't bother watching season 2, because I was honestly really close, because I actually like didn't finish season 1. I was like, oh, I should probably finish season 1 before season 2 comes out. But the more and more episodes that came out for season 2, I just keep hearing worse and worse things. Like, hey, they changed a bunch of things for the manga. I keep hearing that, they skipped like the 2 best arcs after they get out. I'm like, oh, that's pretty bad. And now when it ended, it just ends. I'm like, oh, that's even worse. So, I don't know why this even had to happen. Like, I don't know why they changed it so drastically. Like, I know the ending for the manga wasn't good. I think the mangaka like was like, hey, I could fix this, and I think they went to the anime, and then they kind of just like ruined it. So I don't know why. They could have just adapted the next 2 arcs fine, and then just changed the ending to be something that's better. But instead, it just went all self-destructive and just like exploded on itself, which is really sad, because the first season was really good, and a lot of people really liked it like a lot, and then it just turning out like this is pretty sad. So yeah, it sucks that such a good anime just turned into garbage like in its second season, and even the manga isn't really safe either, because you get 2 good like arcs after that, but then like the ending still isn't that great. So yeah, it's just a very unfortunate series of events that the series will just never be good. Maybe it could get remade at some point in like the future, but I highly doubt it. So yeah, it kind of just sucks for people that really like the first season.
Yeah, some people were like, it needs a brotherhood treatment. I'm like, this
Yeah.
instant? That's crazy. Like,
Right now, right now, it needs a brotherhood.
yeah, but anyways, let's move on from that and go into It Takes Two. So me and Damon actually were able to finish this game together, like in I guess a week's time. I think.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, it took us like three full days, I think. Or
yeah,
like
that's
3,
kind of
yeah.
impressive because you know
Yeah.
we're both working and school. Anyways,
Yeah.
It Takes Two. This is the newest game from the guy that made A Way Out, the guy that said "fuck the Oscars" at the Game Awards.
Yep.
And Jeff Keighley standing there like "fuck my sponsors." But yeah, I thought A Way Out was really really good, so I was 100% looking forward to this. So, what were your sort of like expectations of this game going in?
Yeah, so I kind of just seeing the trailers. Obviously, this is a very different tone from A Way Out. Way Out was more like a cooperative Telltale game where you're kind of just going around talking to people and like doing all that stuff, like figuring like the whatever was happening. This game definitely set itself up as more of a video game first than like more of a story-based thing. And after playing it, yeah, it definitely is more of a like it focuses on its co-op mechanics way more than A Way Out did. They're both very different games, so I'm not like shit talking A Way Out because A Way Out was still really good. It's just this game I think was better just because I think it really leans more into the cooperative side of things, and I think the game is just more fun to play in general. So yeah, I just thought it was really good. So
So yeah, going back on your point on it being more focused on gameplay than story, like 100%, like the game itself is a platformer this time, and there's no collectibles. Like it's literally all about you guys going from point A to point B. So really focused on just like the core mechanics and sort of the core game itself, instead of like it being a collectathon and like you finding the secrets or whatever. I mean, there are like certain like things that you can find, like the once again they brought back the versus sort of mini games, like there's like little arcades or like little mini games that you guys can do against each other to sort of see who's better at this or who's better at that. But definitely the core gameplay itself is like really really good, and I think that me and Damien really caught on it, especially with the controls. Like the controls are like really like buttery smooth.
yeah, like I was actually impressed how responsive the controls were. And that goes with all the because it kind of switches gameplay styles a bit. Like there's one where it kind of goes into like this like Diablo style thing, like sort of like a top down isometric like dungeon crawler. I was actually very impressed how that controlled. I'm like, this is actually like fun. I didn't expect that to be that fun, but just going through the platforming controls, like which is where you're gonna do most of the game. It controls like extremely well. Like your character has a right amount of speed. Your double jump feels good. You can like roll like in the air. You have a nice amount of speed. Like it just feels really good to control. And like each level has like its own like sort of special mechanic, and those also control really well as well. Like nothing felt janky at all, and I was just very impressed with the controls in general. It felt really good.
Yeah, and like you said, when the game would switch from like different gameplay styles or sort of like different controls slash mechanics, it always did it like really, really well.
Yeah.
And just like with A Way Out, you do have to play this game with someone else. It takes two, obviously.
Yeah.
And 100% like playing this game with like a random or someone else, I think wouldn't have like the same impact. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people like us that played it with a friend or their significant other, and I think that that definitely like is like a key thing, because I think that especially with this game, I feel like A Way Out, you might have been able to play it with like a random and like not have had too much difficulty with like communication. But with this game, there's a lot of like sort of like timing, like jumps and timing platforms, because there's certain parts of it where like, for example, my character, I was playing the guy where I would have to like shoot nails for Damien to like jump on. And without like communication, like it's going to be like very hard to like get through those sort of like puzzle and like platforming challenges. But yeah, I definitely thought that the way that the game laid out like everything and everything that it wanted to do, I think that it did it like extremely well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, and yeah, it just the cooperative aspect is just so much stronger in this game. I mean, in the Way Out, it was more like, I mean, I don't want to spoil too much about Way Out. Someone hasn't said it, but it definitely feels more like you're doing not your own thing, but definitely like it's kind of hard to explain without spoiling it. But all I'm gonna say is that It Takes Two is a lot more cooperative than the other game, and I think that's a really good thing. Like, it really makes you like again, the puzzles aren't all like that hard. Like, it only gonna take you maybe like a minute or two to like really understand. Like, okay, I understand how this puzzle works now. But I think that's good. It keeps the gameplay flowing. I feel like if it's not like Portal 2, right? Like Portal 2 is something that, you can spend hours on a puzzle and just start hating each other. I think this game is I think this game is really good fun. Like I think it's really good to just play with someone that maybe doesn't even play video games, right? Like obviously some things are going to be kind of hard for them, but I feel like the puzzles are simple enough and you feel good when you do solve a certain thing. It's like, "Oh, I get it. Like this is how you do this." It just feels good. It's like a nice constant flow of stuff. And the game, I feel, never gets boring because it always introduces a new mechanic like every single minute, and it does it in not in a bad way. Because I've gone on record saying I hate when games do that. Like I'm like, oh, just be a good platformer, but that's not what this game is trying to do. Like it's not strictly a platformer. Like it's a lot of different things, and I think it does all those things really well. Like again, with the in that one level when you get the hammer and nail, they maybe introduce some other mechanic to it as well, along with the hammer and nail. Or maybe you're doing some other level and then like you have your main mechanic, but then it introduces even more mechanics. So it's always like giving you dopamine. Like you're always having something new to do and something like fun to do. That the gameplay never feels too repetitive, and I think that's like a really good thing. And that must have taken a lot of time because the level design also has to reflect that. And I think they did a good job introducing a lot of these things nice and slowly. And like it gives you like a room to be like, okay, this is what this like ability does, and then it expands on that as the level goes on with new stuff. So yeah, I definitely think it does all that stuff really well.
And I think that the game itself being like 10 hours long might turn some people off because I know A Way Out, you could finish that in like one sitting. Like I think it was like less than or 6 hours or something like that. With this game, it took us 10, I believe.
Yeah, 10 hours.
So it could take like 2 to 3, maybe even 4 play sessions, depending on how long you guys are playing. But even then, like just being able to jump back into the game and discover something new with a new mechanic introduced and these platforming challenges and all of that other stuff, it is just super duper fun. And I think that I feel like that there should be other game developers that are trying this sort of like mandatory co-op stuff, because I know that the guy that made this game and A Way Out, he's pretty much the only one in the gaming industry that's doing it. And I think that games that could do this really, really well, like, if they have like a good idea for a mandatory co-op experience, they should definitely try for it, because I think that this game and A Way Out have definitely proven that there is a market for it, and there are people that are willing to play games that require someone else, whether it be a friend or someone else closer to them to play. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else I could really say that hasn't already been said by both of us. The platforming is just really, really tight. I think that the controls are something that me and Damon were very surprised with how good they were and how responsive they were, especially for a platformer. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, like just everything they introduced, like all the mechanics, always kept the game refreshing. I think there's a healthy amount of variety in like just the levels themselves and how they look. The game's always throwing you in new environments and stuff, even though like you're like tiny people, like tiny little toys. So there's only so much you could really do, but the game really gets really imaginative like in the later levels as well. And it was just great. Again, as a fan of platformers, I think the game was just great. And as like a cooperative game, I also think it did enough to really engage both players. I think both players had pretty fun mechanics, and I can even see like maybe doing a second playthrough if you like feel like, oh, I want to play as a different character, because the two characters do have very different mechanics each level. So that could help with replayability if you want to go through the game again and just switch your roles. So that would be pretty cool. But overall, I thought the game was fantastic. Definitely, like, I think my favorite out of the two right now, A Way Out or It Takes Two. I think It Takes Two is just very good. It has a healthy amount of content if you're like, oh, it's $40 though. But it's like, no, I think it does have enough content to justify it. And, it's kind of hard to make a co-op game like this, like, too long, because then both players might feel like maybe they get burnt out. So you definitely want to keep it like kind of short. I think 10 hours was pretty good. I think the game was always keeping itself fresh, so it felt good to keep going. But yeah, you definitely don't want it to be as like that long either. So yeah, definitely it was just a really well made game, and I really can't wait for his next game. I wonder what type of genre he wants to go with next for this like purely co-op like type games he's making. So yeah, that definitely worth a buy if you have someone in mind that you want to play it with. Again, only one person has to buy it. The other person can use the friend pass system, which is super neat. And yeah, definitely worth a try if you have someone you want to play with, because it's really good.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that you pretty much summed it up. I was definitely getting a little burned out by the end of it. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, man, like when is this shit gonna end? Because
the levels are very long. So yeah.
Yeah. And one last thing, just like the bosses, I think that the bosses in this game were actually like, standard platformer bosses with like 3 phases, and there's like a mechanic that you guys need to sort of figure out and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, like this is like not just like a really good like co-op game, but also just like a really good platformer.
Yeah, and I would say that as well. It is just a really good platformer, and yeah, I just did not know they had it in them to make something like this. Like, yeah, it's such a different genre that I'm actually like impressed with how well it is. So yeah, I was very happy with this game.
All right, so now let's get into our Falcon and Winter Soldier talk. So as always, it's going to be spoilers. So yeah, we watched episodes 2 and 3. So yeah, I mean, what do you think about just like both episodes in general?
Yeah, I like them a lot. Again, just like the first episode, it's very more action packed. Like a lot more straightforward. I mean, obviously now with the newer episode, it might be going like you got more like stuff going on. It's not as straightforward, but it's still relatively like normal and straightforward compared to WandaVision, which was no more crazy. This is definitely more like espionage, spy, action type thing that the Captain America series is kind of known for, and I think that Falcon and Winter Soldier really takes that spirit like home. It's really good. And yeah, I think the way they're introducing stuff is like nice. The mystery keeps getting bigger, and like you don't know like who's the good guy or the bad guys, because especially with the newer episodes, like are they the baddies, or like are they just doing the good thing but kind of in the bad way? Like you know what I mean? Like especially with the what are they called, the flag smashers? Like it's like yeah, it's like, oh maybe they do have a point a little bit. Obviously not the way they're doing it, but like I could kind of see where they're coming from, and that's always good. I always like having like some grayness in there. Like I know the MCU villains can always be kind of hit or miss, a lot of the time. But I think this is doing pretty well. I mean, yeah, I don't want to say too much before you give your opinions on the 2 episodes. So.
Yeah, I think that episode 2 in particular, just giving us more background in terms of who this new Captain America is with John Walker, and us seeing Bucky and Falcon interact with each other again is always fun and always hilarious, and sort of see that dynamic with both of them now that Steve's gone, and sort of where they both stand because of Falcon giving up the shield and all that stuff, and how their group and the new Captain America, sort of like conflict with one another. And I knew that this guy wasn't Captain America when he said, "Stay the hell out of my way." I'm like, bro, you kind of toxic there. I don't know. But it makes sense that they don't want to associate themselves with John Walker and him because, like he's sort of taking up Captain America, and Falcon decided to give that up because no one, as of right now within the show, really can stand up to what Steve stood for and who he was. So, but yeah, and then the newest episode that came out today, I thought was also very good. It didn't really focus much on John Walker, which I thought was a good thing because we focused a lot on him in episode 2. But the newest episode really does focus on Zemo and all of the shenanigans that they're up to with him. So.
Yeah, it's actually like interesting that obviously they showed that we're gonna break him out or like show him in the end of episode 2. But it's interesting that he's doing a lot of things with him now, because I thought he was pretty like a weak character in Civil War, because I like forgot he existed. So it's cool that they're giving him more of a threatening aura, or like he's like more calculated and stuff than he was in Civil War. I thought that's really neat. And also the things with John Walker, I'm like, when he was just saying like, yeah, stay the hell out of my way, I'm like, dude, you're talking a lot of shit for someone who's not even a super soldier. So like, calm down. I mean, what I predict what's gonna happen, he probably is gonna get like the serum or something, and he's probably gonna become a super soldier. But I don't know. But that's probably what's gonna happen.
I mean, within episode 3, like the first part where like that guy spits on him, I'm like, let's fucking go, yes.
Yeah, and I think they're doing a good job making John Walker like a really hateable piece of garbage, because like just yelling at this man, you gotta spit it off, like, yeah, dude, screw this dude. So yeah, just going into like more of the Zemo stuff, and finding the like what's happening with the super serum, who's making it. And again, I like I said with WandaVision and this show as well, I like how they really like bring the snap into like effect with everything. Like this researcher guy who was making the super serum, I think he was making it for America, right, or something, or was it like Russia? I forgot. He was making it for somewhere.
Yeah,
I forgot.
I think he was brought in by a agency from America.
Yeah, from America,
right? I can't remember
right.
Because he said it really fast and then he died. So
yeah. So he was doing that, but when he got snapped away, he was one of the people that got snapped away. Like, they just abandoned the project, and then he was he was trying to find money to do the research, and like I guess the broker, power broker or whatever, is like, hey, you can make it for me. He's like, okay. So yeah, I
Hmm.
think that's pretty neat how to keep incorporating the snap like into everything, because that's a major event when half the world got like just turned to dust. So I'm really happy
Hmm.
that they're really bringing it home with all these shows, like how much of a big event it was. Even with the Flag Smasher stuff again, like like with like how their goals, like they liked it better when everyone was snapped away, and there's like new organizations based on like repopulating people or like readjusting people into like the life 5 years later. Like I just find that stuff really neat. It really adds a lot of like world building to the universe of the MCU, and just like and just show that the whole Infinity Saga was like was gonna leave its mark for like years to come. I think that's just really cool.
Yeah, and I think just like bringing the blip into the like everything post Endgame, I think is good because bringing that as a sort of device for story is very smart because
Uh-huh.
they're doing it in ways where it's like, oh, like how is the super soldier serum back again? It's because this guy was doing it and then the snap happened and then people just sort of forgot about it. So when he was able to bring it back up and everything like that, and using the blood from the super soldier that was a black man from episode 2, and like the whole like race and everything like that was sort of portrayed within episode 2, I thought was handled in probably the best way that they could for a show like this where they have to bring, or they don't necessarily have to bring politics, but they decided to bring politics into the show. And with like Sam Wilson, and he's like, yo bro, I'm just talking to him, and he's like, whoa whoa whoa, I'm like, yo, this like racial profiling happening here, and then he realized,
Yeah.
oh, it's the Falcon. I'm like, yep, that's pretty fucked up. But the whole thing with like there was a black super soldier and no one knew about it, not even Steve, because Bucky didn't tell him, like all of that stuff, and sort of like with his blood, and now that is the reason why these super soldiers are out, is because this guy who got snapped, he was able to do all of that stuff and sort of re-engineer it. But yeah, like definitely like the way the show is going right now is definitely like how we expected, with a sort of espionage sort of show, just like within the second Captain America movie. And yeah, I definitely like the humor within this show.
Yeah.
It's still the same sort of MCU sort of subtleness. The whole scene with Sam when he had to drink that shot with like the snake stuff in it, I was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck,
No, I
my
love it
man
when
was not having it.
I love it when he was on the phone. He was trying to act all tough, and then like his
Yeah,
sister just like, "Yo, watch your Cheerios." Like, hold on, I'll be back, Sam. He's like, ah shit. And then that was
he's
really
like, ah
good.
shit, you said my name, and then Sharon, or yeah, Sharon, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, she's actually here, and then I forgot that like she's actually been on the run like this entire time.
I totally
Um,
forgot who she was.
I mean, I don't like. I remember who she was because of that scene with the Winter Soldier and Falcon in the car nodding their heads when Steve kissed her. I was like, that shit
Oh
was
yeah.
hilarious. Like that was like the funniest part within Civil War for me personally, which is why like when she came in, because I think that she was also within the trailers and stuff like that. Her coming in and being like, well, I can't fucking come back to America because of all of this shit that's been happening to me, and I know you guys got pardoned for your shit, but I didn't get pardoned for anything. Obviously Sam has a lot of that on his mind, and yeah, hopefully he'll be able to make peace with all of that stuff by the end of the show. But with Zemo and what's them, the goddamn Flag Smashers.
Yeah.
Okay, when she blew up that building, I was like, no fucking way. Oh my god.
He's like, yeah, yo, we got killed. I'm like, damn, that's a little extra. Like, you didn't have to do that. Like, I get it, but
Yeah, like I get it that like she's trying to like show authority or whatever. But I was like, those people didn't have to die, like.
that was a little extra, bro. Like, yeah, getting the food back, yeah, that's good. Like, blowing all of them up, I'm like, all right, that's a little much.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, there's just so much to talk about between these two episodes alone. But I think like overall, just seeing how Falcon and Winter Soldier interact with each other, I think that was probably the best part of episode 2. And just seeing them, play off of each other, and their dynamic once again is always fun to see on screen. But yeah.
Yeah, overall, I'm really liking the show. I think the production value again is still insane. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially the newest episode, because they were going to like different environments every other second. Like, they're in the club and then like in some other place. Like, it was really cool to see. Like, WandaVision was mostly set in and Westview or whatever it was called. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like mostly the same setting. This show is going all over the place, so it's really cool to see all the different locales they go to, which is really neat as well. And again, action is just as good as it always was. You know, with the when Bucky was fighting all those guys in the bar, that was pretty cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, overall, I'm still really enjoying Winter Soldier, and I can't wait to see how to really tie everything together. So
Mm-hmm. The action is definitely really, really fun to watch. So,
yeah.
is there anything else you'd like to add, good sir?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. So, thank you guys for listening to the Travis Damian Podcast, episode 59. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.